Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. I'm Craig Mish. We'll be joined by Gilbert McGregor of Sporting News as we review the latest in the WNBA and go over whether or not Caitlin Clark is going to be an impact player in tonight's game. She'll win the Rookie of the Year. We know that, Gilbert, but how much will she be able to play tonight is the question. Thanks for coming on the show.
Absolutely, Craig. Excited to talk about some WNBA hoops.
Yeah, and I think people may be surprised to see this line. The Sun are 3-point favorites tonight against the Indiana Fever, total of 164, and I'm guessing the injury has something to do with this line. Now, naturally we still have hours before this game tips off, but what do you make of this line and maybe the potential result?
You know what? It's actually a little closer than I expected. The Fever haven't had much success against the Sun this season. They opened the season in Connecticut, and they've lost all three games against them this year. And Caitlin Clark actually is averaging fewer assists against Connecticut than any other team in the WNBA. She's also averaging 6 turnovers per game against Connecticut. So it's a very tough defensive team. They're second in the WNBA standings right now. Actually, if the season ended right now, these would be the two teams that met in the first round of the playoffs. So maybe we get a postseason preview here, but maybe we see the Fever maybe get over that hump. They've played better basketball since the Olympic break came to an end. So I think the Fever can hang around, but I still think the Sun are the better team, and they had their eyes and sights set on the postseason.
All right, so now the New York Liberty have been a bettor's best friend. I know they didn't cover a spread the other day, but generally speaking, what they're doing is winning games by 15, 20, even 30 points. They take on the Sparks tonight. I don't know what has happened to the Sparks, but they have been rough since opening up the, I guess, second half since the Olympics. New York 12.5-point favorites tonight, Gilbert. 163.5 is the total there. Since they returned to play, they basically have been 5-1, so that's a really good record, covering the spread mostly. But this is a big line again on the road. I think the last time these two teams played, the Liberty won by 30.
Yeah, I was going to say the last time these two teams played, it actually was in LA, and they won by 35. So it wasn't even
35.
remotely close. The Sparks have dealt with a lot of injuries this year, including one to star rookie Cameron Brink. Rickea Jackson has stood out for the Sparks team, but they're building for the future. They just blew a huge lead their last time out. So they're trending downward, and the Liberty are trending upward. They're doing everything they can to secure the number 1 seed in the WNBA standings going into the playoffs, avenge their loss in the WNBA finals last year. So it does make sense that they are favored by this much, even though they're on the road. They're a much healthier team, and they really are playing with a bigger picture in mind. And I think that they won't take their opponents lightly.
Yeah, I would agree. And look, it's time now for, the WNBA playoffs are coming soon. The Liberty are going to be one of the favorites, if not the favorite to win it all. Las Vegas is saying, don't forget about us. In terms of tonight, let's see if we can throw a prop out there, folks, for Gilbert. We've got Breanna Stewart minus 120. This is to score 20 plus points in the game tonight. Sabrina Ionescu minus 106. And then on the Sparks, we have the Erica Hamby, Rickea Jackson, and Jonquel Jones. Those are the names tonight. A couple of plus 360s I see there. The favorite to score 20 plus. Gilbert, that's minus money. Anything you like there?
You know, it's really tricky when you talk about games like this because there is that blowout potential. So how long will the Stars actually play for the Liberty? But at the same time, I look at a team like the Sparks, who are an injury-riddled team. They have a much tighter rotation. Rickea Jackson had a huge game on Sunday in Dallas and couldn't miss. I think she made her first 8 shots of the game. So if you're really intrigued and want to get adventurous there might be some real value in Rickea Jackson if you believe that she can pick up where she left off on Sunday. Otherwise, I understand Breanna Stewart is pretty tempting, but if she plays limited minutes in a big-time blowout and they empty the bench earlier than we expected, I don't know if there's much value there with the Liberty players.
All right, now let's get into the trophy here. To use basically the term favorite is using it lightly. The Liberty and Aces minus 230. You can't even get good odds. If one of those teams wins the championship, Gilbert, can you sell me on anyone else out of those two teams winning the WA championship? If so, I can get plus 184. This is 2 against the field. We haven't even started the playoffs yet.
I think I'd make a case for the Connecticut Sun. We talked about them right now. They are the second seed in the WNBA standings. They have some star power with Alyssa Thomas. They made a big trade to get Marina Mabry on their roster as well. And they kind of check all those boxes. And people always say defense wins championships. Well, they are a defensive team. Another one could be another shout for the Minnesota Lynx. They're kind of quietly hanging around there, and they could finish third or second. They have Nafisa Collier, who is another WNBA MVP candidate. She probably won't win it over Asia Wilson. But those are two teams. They have the star power, they have the identity. And I think they've been more consistent than the Aces, who I'm pretty concerned about at this stage of the season. I feel like they haven't shaken past of the issues that they've shown throughout the year.
Yeah, and Gilbert, I think as we kind of come to a close here, the bottom line for me is as we enter the end, do you think that the WNBA scheduling had anything to do with the way that the season is finishing? Because we're definitely seeing some more lopsided results since we've got out of the Olympics. And do you think that has anything to do with the break or not? Or is it just commonplace for the end of the WNBA season?
I think it's a mix of both. It's been interesting to see how the Olympic break has impacted different teams. Like we've seen Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese, and some of the rookies actually find a second win because they didn't really get much of a break after the NCAA season. Now they get an extra month to kind of refresh and recharge. You can kind of see in their play. But you think about teams like the Aces, teams like the Seattle Storm, who had multiple Olympians, it was nonstop for them. So they're coming out of the break having played, having traveled to and from Paris, and I think that that's impacted a lot of some of the letdowns that we've seen with these teams. I know the Storm just had a pretty surprising loss at home to the Washington Mystics. So I see with less than I think 3 or 4 weeks left in the year, maybe we'll see some people shake the rust off and kind of break through that last win to close the season. But it's really interesting to see how that plays.
All right. Well, Gilbert, great to catch up with you once again. Thanks for coming on NewsWire.
Absolutely.